How do I express myself so freely? How do I take all these poi dance pieces I've been writing and be able to channel all of that emotion without feeling self-conscious and be able to bring all of that emotion to the fore? That was the question that I was asked by a Patreon supporter a couple months ago. And in this video, I'm going to do my best to answer it. Drex here from DrexFactor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about emotional expression and how one can get there. But before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecha, Flowfests, Flow Toys, Paraterra Light Toys, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these awesome companies and the work they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friend of the channel, Pekha Pekkonen. Thank you so very much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. So the backstory, if you're just tuning in, I got a piece of feedback from a Patreon supporter a couple months ago, basically asking me how it is that I'm able to express myself so freely and not feel so self-conscious. I broke that into two pieces, one of which was the question of how to feel less self-conscious, and I did that video last month. I will link to it down in the description as well as up in the cards, of course. But really, I realized that this was two separate questions. They're not unrelated, but simply feeling less self-conscious is not in and of itself a recipe for becoming more expressive. So how exactly do we do that? And once again, the actual answer is therapy. I've been in therapy for several years now, and it has helped a great deal in unlocking those parts of me. But I can also single out just a few things that came out of that process that I can point you all to. So, spoilers, some of the things that I'm going to be pointing you to are going to feel kind of small and silly, while others are going to feel rather large and challenging. But through it all, what I'm going to hopefully be pointing you towards is a way to find more authentic expression for yourself and ways to be able to unlock and put that out in the world. So, let's dive in. So, tip number one is going to be learning how to identify what you feel. This may sound like a really trivial matter, but I know it turned out not to be for me. I was never actually taught to be able to identify my feelings. When I first went into therapy, there was actually a thing that we do on a semi-regular basis where my therapist would ask me how I felt about something, and I would admit I have no idea. And so she would then ask, okay, where do you feel it in your body? Like, do you feel a pit in your stomach? Do you feel a tightness in your shoulders? Where exactly does this live? And by identifying those kind of physical byproducts of it, we could then kind of work backwards and figure out what the emotion was. It can also be helpful to, say, like, look at a wheel of emotions and kind of narrow down based upon the overarching ones where the more specific one that you're experiencing is. And this takes a little bit of time. Like, you'll be able to identify some bigger emotions pretty quickly and early on, but some more specific ones are going to take a little while. And I don't know about you, but to me, as I was going through this process, I knew that I was making progress when I could point to the emotion and I instantly felt a weight come off my shoulders. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's really worth it. And quite frankly, if you're going to express yourself, you need to know what exactly it is you're expressing. Tip number two, this is a lot more fun and a lot easier. And it's to make a list of things that you enjoy, things that bring you joy. And sometimes these can be bigger things, like, say, you know, if you really enjoy travel, or, you know, you really enjoy something that happens like once a year that you get to experience, or these can be small things. Like, for instance, things that exist on my list of things that I enjoy are things like, there's a little figurine of a dinosaur called a Deinonychus that I picked up last year when I was visiting the Natural History Museum in New Haven, that I adore so much that it now lives permanently on my desk, so I can go over and look at it and give myself just a little bit of joy when I'm working. Or, for example, winning a connections puzzle by solving it in reverse rainbow order. That always brings me a kick of joy. whether big or small, the things that bring you joy are important because they're things that you can use as a pick-me-up, or things that you can kind of engage with when you're having a difficult day rather than kind of sitting in those difficulties. And again, this is going to become a really, really important factor in being able to open up your emotional expression by finding what your joy is. Tip number 3, seek out things that inspire you. Whether it be music, movies, architecture, art, etc. Take note of the things that really get your creative gears turning and seek those things out when you can. You know, I live in Washington, D.C., so I've got kind of an abundance of riches in this regard. A lot of time, you know, I'll just hop on the metro and go down and check out the National Gallery of Art because it has some of my favorite Monet and Ong paintings, and those will give me a great creative charge. Oh, and recently, there's a British painter by the name of Turner who has really been igniting my creative gears. So find things like that that really like stimulate you creatively, and it will help you be able to create things yourself. And tip number 4, which is kind of an interesting mirror image, or maybe the flip side of the coin to tip number 3, and that is interrogate your tastes. Figure out what you like about the things that you like and why. What is it specifically that jumps out to you about them? What is it that keeps you coming back? And also, too, when you dislike something, ask yourself, why is that? Why does this produce this reaction in me? What would have to change about the elements of it for me to enjoy it? This is kind of developing an inner critic in some ways, but I don't think it's an inner critic in a destructive way. I think it's a way of identifying what your tastes are so you can produce your own work around them. And again, if our goal is authentic expression, it's an important way to get there. And tip number 5. Now I'm going to drop one of the really, really hard ones on you. And that is to learn self-love. I know that that is a very, very general thing to say, and you know, believe me, there's a lot that goes into that, and I could probably make an entire video on it in and of itself. But fundamentally, if you're going to express yourself, you have to think that you have something that is worth saying. You have to have something inside of yourself that you identify as beautiful and worthy of being out there in the world. And so you need to go through the process of learning to value that. You need to go through the process of recognizing what your flaws are and learning to love yourself despite that. You need to go through the process of recognizing that you don't have to be the fastest, the smartest, the most talented to be worthy of creating things. You learn to love yourself just as you are, and that makes it a lot easier to be able to put things out into the world that are a byproduct of that internal beauty that you're now seeing. And yes, that is a process. It takes years. It's very difficult. I'm still working on it. But it also becomes the cornerstone of being able to produce things that you're both proud of, as well as bring something from inside of you out into the world around you. And now we have a special bonus round, because as I was outlining this video, I realized I had a little bit more to say that didn't really fit under any of the bullet points that I already outlined. So here goes. And this is gonna sound a little preachy and a little judgy, but stick with me here. And that is to train yourself to seek beauty instead of clout. Now, as I'm saying that, of course, everybody says they're not seeking clout. But you know what? A lot of us are, whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not. And this goes into the self-love thing. There's a moment where you can look at yourself and say, yes, I want attention. And that's okay. It's not bad to want attention. Lots of people want attention. That's a normal human thing to do. But it's also important to recognize the moments when we are compromising our authentic expression to seek that clout, and to make peace with ourselves and the fact that when we do produce something that is authentic, more than likely it's going to be met with some really defensive reactions. When you express yourself authentically, this becomes very, very challenging to people who are perhaps not in that same space themselves. It reveals the ways that they are being fake. It reveals the ways in which they fear the judgments of others. And rather than kind of interrogating that and dealing with that on its own terms, they're more likely to project that shame onto you. And so it'll come in the form of, kind of snarky comments. It may come in the form of insults. People will tell you what you're doing is bad in various different ways. Ask me how I know. And you kind of have to make your peace with the fact that that is going to happen. It is kind of an unavoidable side effect of creating something that is authentic to yourself, because by definition, it is something that is true to you and thus kind of unique. And so it's going to exist outside of the world that a lot of people are comfortable with. And it sucks. There's no doubt about it. That is not something that is a happy thing to accept, but it's also out of our control. You have to believe that there is more value in producing something that you personally think is beautiful than there is in being liked. That's tough. I'm still working on that. But it is what I think is kind of the final piece of the puzzle. When you are expressing yourself authentically, you are also doing so from a place where you're just happy that the thing exists in the world. And it doesn't matter whether it gets a big reaction from the world or not. If getting a big reaction from the world is what you're looking for, then expressing yourself, unfortunately, is not the way to do it. So that is what I have to say on the matter. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and thank you to the Patreon supporter that inspired this video and the other one in the first place. Again, I will link to that other video down in the description. What did you think of this list? Do you have thoughts based upon my thoughts? Were there things that you think are helpful for creating authentic self-expression that I didn't mention that you think should have? Please leave me a comment and let me know. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to help other people find this video, and, of course, to help my channel grow. This video would not be possible without my amazing supporters on Patreon. In particular, I'd love to give a shout out to my Flow patrons who are listed on screen right now. Thank you all so much for your very generous support. And if you out there want to support the channel and you're not currently supporters, here are 3 ways that you could do it. Number 1, if you want to get your name in the credits or access to a host of other awesome rewards, you can sign up for my Patreon over at patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi. I'll include a link to that down in the description as well as up in the cards. Also, if you would just like to do a one-off donation, you can hit me up via PayPal or Venmo. I am at DrexFactor on both platforms. Please and thank you in advance. And hey, it being Mental Health Awareness Month, if you want to see more videos that I have done about various topics in mental health, I will go ahead and link to a playlist of them, both on screen as well as down in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Have yourselves a very happy Memorial Day if you live in the United States, and I will catch up with you with a new video soon. Peace.